Christina.
Morning.
I guess Meg won't be here, or maybe she'll join us later. And we have in the audience today, Sarah Gordon. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First thing on the agenda is Green Expo feedback. John is occupied this morning and will not be able to attend, but he did send us sort of a brief an email about some of the feedback that he got from people at the expo, which we can talk about at the next meeting. We have time before the next expo. I read it once, but I did not study it yet.
I think we should discuss it when he's here.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll put that aside to when John joins us again. Ben, I'm just going to jump ahead to some other things before we hear about your trip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm in the car. So if you
You're
can
in the
maybe
car.
call out the headings of the agenda as we go.
Okay.
And I can't access my notes, obviously, but
Okay. So the next item is Verdant Power questions. So I haven't gotten back to Verdant Power yet, but I've gotten questions from Steve and Don. You sort of gave me some generalized questions. So I think what I'll do is this coming week, next week, I will contact Haig Rickerby and just tell him that we have some general and some more specific questions. And do, hey Meg. No, it's okay. We just started.
Morning.
We passed the minutes and we're now on to, we're not going to talk about the Green Expo feedback until John joins us again, which will not be today. He's occupied. So I'm now jumping ahead to Verdant Power. We'll come back to Ben and his trip. So I was just saying that I've gotten some specific questions from Steve and some general questions from Don. Though Don and I had a conversation one day, and he did have actually in that conversation more specific questions. But I think, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think the main one, are they really familiar with the East End hydrogeology? Is that correct? I don't know. But the flow of water around Shelter Island and the East End. So I'd like not to have the first discussion with them be a tutorial.
Okay. Hydrogeology?
Well, no, I don't know what it is. The water flows, I don't know. Tidal flows, yeah, there you go, thank you.
Okay. Around SI. Tutorial. Okay.
Us educating them.
Exactly, that's what I meant.
Okay. I think, again, there's still sort of fishing, so to speak, just to figure out what we want.
If there's interest.
And then we need to figure out what they want. So I think what I'll do is I will contact Haig Rickerby and just explain what we would like to do next, and if we can all agree on that, and if that means just meeting with Haig first, and then we have a conversation with him, and then we go to, and if somehow they want to then have the board member and their engineer join Haig and meet with us second time, I don't know how they want to do that.
So what is our goal?
I think just informate, fact finding.
I mean, under ideal conditions, some sort of plan leading to a prototype or something is what I would like to see at some point, or a test, at least, of the local waters for tidal power, some sort of investigation, as I said, ideally with units in the water. but we are well short of that.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, clearly we are. I mean, I think that in order to make any sort of, I think that we have to have something more specific in mind than just fact finding. Like, that we need to be able to say to them, we're interested in talking to you because at some point we're wondering if we can use tidal power to help solve our resilience and energy problems. We don't know enough about hydrogeology to figure that out on our own. So we're talking to you, hoping that you would have that expertise and could guide us to a possible solution. There may not be a solution. If so, that would also be useful for us to know.
That's what I meant by fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions. I mean, we have very busy waters, and you need to know how this is going to play into that scenario. Also, there has to be a shore facility. So where is it coming ashore? What is that facility? There are a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should even jump to there has to be a shore facility. Let's let them tell us.
Yeah, I look at it more as just trying to figure out if it's even a feasibility
Right,
at any
right.
point, now or in the future,
Correct.
given the way our tidal flows are.
Exactly, given the depths of water, the boat to traffic, navigational traffic, and the tidal flows, is it feasible any place near Shelter Island?
Right, or is it something we should just cross off our list as a potential reality
Yeah, for now.
for now? Yeah, I mean, because the South Ferry Inlet is really the best spot on the south side.
Yeah.
And that's, as we know, heavily trafficked. And then on the north side, it's really like the North Ferry Inlet. And then if you go closer to like that Sunset Beach alcove, there's a tide that really rips through there. But that's very populated in front of private property, and who knows, it may not be realistic.
We could do,
I would say there are some rocks in the area that prevent navigation. So there may be some opportunities.
areas.
I think we would all agree, there's nothing that's going to power all of Shelter Island, but some small portion still might be worth it.
And they could do it in connection with other things done on the North Fork or,
Yep,
on
correct.
that area or something, and just tie it all together into one
well,
bigger system.
that's the other thing I'm curious about is
Yeah,
if they're looking at the plum gut in that area,
well, then the fishermen are gonna have a.
is there something that we can combine with other towns?
Yeah, I think that's really
I think, yeah.
a
Yeah,
potentially
Verdon-
really interesting.
Yeah, Verdon obviously is experienced in tidal power.
Right.
They've been working 10 years or more in the East River.
Mhm.
Some of us have been following their experiences. In 2005, I believe it was, LIPA came out with a in-depth study
Mhm.
of tidal power. If anybody wants it, I'm happy to share it with them.
Yeah, that would be
We've
great.
seen it. I've seen it, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, we're starting from these are the building blocks we're starting from. As I understand it, they approached us, Tim?
Yeah.
Yeah, they approached us. So, I think, first step is come and talk to us.
Mhm.
What's on your mind? Okay? We have opinions. I provided a bunch of questions to Tim, which I'll be happy to share with anybody. But, I think that's where it starts. I would only add, that somebody who's been in new technologies since the Carter administration, that New York State was a leader in hydropower, was the leader actually in hydropower over 120 years ago with Niagara Falls, so forth and so on. So, looking at those pieces at some point, not immediate, right? But, things are happening fast now. 5 years is not immediate, but it's pretty quick. Okay, and if we're talking about resiliency, that's a little longer term than simply Immediate, yes, immediate, we want to make sure that, you know, that the power stays on at the north end. So, you know, I'm seeing these major pieces and saying, okay, you know, the East End with its enormous tidal potential. And by the way, I'd add one more thing is that, you know, while we may be an island here, we're not an island in a vacuum. Okay, we're here on the East End with Southampton and East Hampton are in some ways out ahead of us. I think it's fair to say in terms of, you know, green power and resilience, if you've been watching what they're doing, you know, Lynn Arthur and others, and even in the North Fork. So, you know, this may be something that is obviously more than just a shelter island thing, but we're also part of a larger ecosystem, if that's the right word, for green energy, for resilience. That's on the East End. And you know, obviously PSE&G or LIPA would be helpful, could be helpful. So, you know, those are just my only observations and comments at this point. Let's hear from them. And then we'll talk about it.
Anyway, yes. So I will reach out to Hague and we'll see what the next step can be.
Again, you know, PV 40 years ago was so expensive only the space program could afford it. Now we're talking about putting it out on fields and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm not looking 40 years down the road, but I am saying that's how things happen.
I will contact Hague and we'll take it from there. Okay, good. Any E-tip updates? We had a different meeting yesterday.
Could be relicensing old power plants, reading the news.
Yeah, my internet kept cutting out.
Huh?
My internet kept cutting out during the.
Yeah, I was really struggling.
Float on barge.
So two of you at one point.
Well, I tried because I was having so much trouble with one connection. I got on another device because I wasn't, you know, but that didn't help, by the way.
Okay. Anyway, we were kind of jumping ahead yesterday. And sort of,
Yeah, yeah.
It was
no, I
just
think-
frustrating because I really wanted to talk and I
Couldn't do it. Yeah, it's a little cart in front of the horse, but.
any other thoughts about that?
Yeah. I was just looking at the follow-up emails we got from Kate last night, and I think it would be helpful, maybe it's just me, I think it would be helpful since we sort of left the meeting with the upcoming schedule in a little bit of disarray. It would be helpful if at some point, not immediately, but, you know, over the next week, you know, we get a status now on what the schedule looks like, because some of the meetings, I believe, were changed.
Yes,
Yeah, they
she
were.
sent us, she sent us RSVPs for them, but
Yeah.
when I RSVP'd, it didn't populate my
Okay.
calendar, and so I was like, what have I just RSVP'd?
Okay, so you would like a
Just
calendar
Yeah, just the one pager that says,
November, December, and January.
Yeah, we can summarize that.
Yeah.
right, and then if they need to be changed, they can be
Yep.
changed.
Okay, I will ask Kate for a clear,
Oh, Christina's got her hand up.
Christina,
Hi. Sorry to have been missing meetings lately. I
oh,
was
you're fine.
conference, Climate Week, followed by Climate Week, followed by, I just got back from Milwaukee last night where I was giving a talk. So my apologies. And I couldn't join the ETIP meeting. And I missed Kate's deadline for the geothermal information. We
Oh.
don't actually have but so I just want to ask a question about that. But I'm sorry, not being very coherent here. Could I put geothermal on the agenda, or the response to her questions?
Yes, you can still respond to her questions
Yes, we,
because we didn't have all the answers for her.
yes,
Okay, so that was so my first question is what happened in the meeting? We don't have, I think they're thinking that we're looking for information that's different from the information we actually need. So we don't have a specific site with known qualities that we could give them information about, like soil content and whatever, the size and all of that. But what we're looking for is information on how the closed loop systems may or may not, how they work. You have to do a 200 to 300 foot drop if you're doing a networked system. If you're just doing for one building, you could probably do a shallow system, but that's my understanding. I'd like to hear from them. So I think we just need to be asking some different questions. It's not so much a site analysis, I think, that we're trying to do. We need information that's going to help us with this conversation we have with others on the island about lifting the ban on geothermal.
Somebody want to answer this?
Yeah, so where to begin? They asked about sites for a horizontal system,
Okay.
Christina, and a few what they call a slinky, in other words, a coil
Right. No, I
system
know what that is.
to take advantage to increase the area of exposure to the local ground.
Correct.
And it was suggested a few sites when we were on the phone, notably, of course, Fisk Field, wide open area, no further building expected, as well as between Town Hall and the police station, but there may be construction there. So we went into some of that.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah, just to do like a theoretical feasibility study to see, what kind of space they think it would take, what kind of systems might be appropriate. We did give them information on our hydrogeology. We had a report that was done a while back. We sent that. I've also sent them groundwater, aquifer depths and all that kind of information. And we really have, especially up in the center, it's a pretty standard sand, gravel, loamy blend. It's not complicated. There's not a lot of play right up here. So the sites that we gave them are pretty standard. And also like the field behind the school that has the little kids baseball diamond. And then we also mentioned possibly the affordable housing site down by the Historical Society because it's a larger parcel.
Mhm.
So they were gonna look at that too.
Oh, terrific. Thank you, Meg. I know when we talked, you mentioned the hydrology reports, but I didn't know if they had those. So, okay, thanks.
The area next to Legion Hall.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're talking about the field, you're not talking about the field next to the library, are you? Because that's owned by.
No,
That's private.
Right.
yeah, no,
Right,
the field
no.
between the police station and town hall where we took down the building.
Right. Okay, got it. So they are simply looking at a slinky system. They're not talking about any deep wells. Or deep for us, which would be 200 or 300 feet.
Apparently that slinky system was demonstrated or shown to Ben and to Brian in Alaska. And that's what the basis for this discussion is.
Okay, I had mentioned that to them before. I know that they're okay for an individual house. I don't know how large of a building they can power. I do know that for the network systems, because we just did a workshop on it, you need these 200 or 300 foot drops every once in a while. Everything else is horizontal.
Yeah.
Well, the slinky system we were shown actually is for NREL's outpost facility in Fairbanks, which is not small. It's not huge, but it's not small.
Mhm.
It certainly is bigger than our town hall.
Oh, sure.
It's
Yeah.
their whole laboratory. And they showed it to us. It's buried underground. They showed us where it's buried.
Yeah. No, I've seen pictures of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes up, it's a decent amount of space. It's nothing that we couldn't do. And that that unit that they have does run their whole building. So, and everything on the inside is just like any other heat pump system.
Right, yeah.
So, I mean, it was interesting, and you got an idea of how much space you'll need to run a building that size, which wasn't insignificant, but it's not, a football field or something like that.
Right.
You know?
So I guess my further question is, do we want information from them on anything other than the potential impacts of a slinky system? Or because I'm thinking we need to take action if we're ever going to do anything with geothermal
Yeah,
on
they
yeah,
were gonna do information on both the horizontal and vertical systems, because they do want to explain that a vertical system will not quote unquote puncture the aquifer, because, there is no hard line, we're not on a waterbed. So they're gonna do some explanations and some science behind that to try to educate the public, but they do know that because the public already has an aversion to the concept of going deep, that they're gonna provide an alternative that's horizontal that might be feasible for us, just because that might be more palatable for the public, but they'll do both, they'll explain both.
Well, thank you very much for the update. I really appreciate it. And again, apologies for not having been able to make the meeting.
I don't know very much about, geothermal heat pump systems. First of all, I have no experience with it, other than what I've observed and what other friends have done. The Slinky system has obviously a lot of advantages, smaller scale, maybe even, Ben, with the housing project, it might be possible to make it big enough for a district heating system just for those houses there in the housing project. I don't know how many units we're talking about. On the other hand, it has to be said, if it's a closed loop system, it's going to be carrying a heat transfer fluid, Ben, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, if it's carrying a heat transfer fluid, that's not simply groundwater.
Right.
Or something like that, there is always an element of risk, even with a closed loop system. So, we do need to be aware of that,
And they've made advances. It used to be that fluid was toxic, and they have upgraded it now to non-toxic versions that, if for some reason it got into your groundwater, it wouldn't poison you. So have made advances.
Yeah.
So there were.
Yeah,
I know, because we use heat transfer fluids for solar hot water systems and
Yep.
so forth and so on. So, but we just need to be knowledgeable in.
I think
the
that's an
issues.
important, Steve, thanks for raising that. It's an important point that we'll need to include in educational materials, because Meg is absolutely correct. The fluids that they're using now are non-toxic, and it's not a threat to any water system. So there've been a lot of advances made in the technology.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other thoughts about, by the way, the rest of the meeting, most of the meeting was sort of, as Meg put it, putting the cart before the horse. We were sort of talking about how we'd want to communicate to the public and outreach and community solar and many other things, but it was kind of, we were sort of ahead of ourselves.
I feel like we didn't have enough information to make those decisions yet, or to decide
we're
what was
just
the
not-
best
we're not-
way to get the information we had out to the public, because we don't know what information we have.
We're not ready, so it was sort of like off the top of our heads trying to think of things. So,
But we can prepare, and we can ask them to maybe share with us what other communities have used to to talk to their communities, so we can see what's being said and how it's being presented. I mean, we can prepare to make communication rather than just wait for this report. We might want to ask them if they could share some of this information with us.
okay.
Again, working with PSE&G, they're in a similar position. They're constantly going out to their clients and with information, and programs and so forth and so on. So, you know, they're, again, natural allies. The only thing other thing I wanted to mention about this ETIP scheduling thing was, is there a meeting on Monday with,
There's.
I think it's Tuesday, isn't it?
yeah, I wasn't clear on this, with the
Monday.
new group of,
It's with the consortium of island.
Yeah.
Put that in my planner yet.
Yeah, but isn't it like 4 o'clock or something on Tuesday?
It's
that
2.
wasn't clear.
There's a
Yeah,
meeting.
it was
at 2
earlier,
o'clock
right.
On Tuesday with the Island Institute cohort.
Yeah,
So
and
that
she
means
she
the
needs to
other,
confirm that, I think.
We're gonna be in a town board meeting. We're gonna be in a town work session.
Yeah, Ben and I will be available.
yeah, so this is meeting with the other towns.
Yeah, this is if you want to talk with Block Island and the other.
Yeah, so
groups
then,
in our cohort.
to your point about communication, that's one of the questions that I'll be asking the other towns during that meeting, to share what they're, and they'll probably want to know what we're planning to do to inform their communities. You were
No,
just
that-
saying, Ben, that, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, actually, that would be great, but go ahead.
yeah,
Okay,
I mean, I met the Martha's Vineyard person.
oh, yeah? Which one, what's her name?
Oh, his name. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, and I'm driving, so I can't look at anything I wrote down. But so the Cape Cod Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Block Island was supposed to come, but they dropped out at the last minute. But Ryan has subsequently connected me to them via email. And so, yeah, I wish I could join this call on Tuesday, but if it really is at 2 or 3 o'clock, Meg and I are out.
well, give us some questions.
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay,
Trying to find you.
oh, Sarah,
Just an update on Sylvester Manor's plans with solar energy.
yes,
It's interesting, the challenges that, that we have to acknowledge. Even just the rooftop array. So we're getting 3 proposals from 3 different installers. And the first one said we should limit our rooftop array to the maximum number of panels that the grid transformer could accommodate at this time. Otherwise, we would potentially trigger a very costly series of studies and technology upgrades that would be posed on the property owner, like over $100,000. The second installer proposed covering the roof, said, don't worry about it. And
Sarah, what
trying to
roof
get an
are you?
answer, of how we're gonna know for sure from PSEG, because the first installer said, you won't even know, they won't even tell you until you come in with a full-blown proposal, whether it's gonna trigger these costs or not. So the opaque quality of our utility continues to be a little bit of a head scratcher. So let's just put rooftop solar on our barn and see what we can do. So I'm waiting for the third proposal, and then I'm gonna dig into this and ask for better answers from the various proposers.
I thought that when PSE&G came in, they said they would have to upgrade their systems to accommodate it.
Yeah, but the question of
maybe that was
who
if it's
that,
municipal.
who that cost is charged
Yeah.
to is apparently obviously not clear, because a major solar installer thinks that it would be our cost.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing.
yeah, so
that's-
that's.
So that means that basically in order to upgrade your electrical capacity to handle a full array, you'd have to pay for, which
Not
would,
our capacity, the adjacent
Right.
transformer capacity.
the transformer,
Because this
which is
would
not your
only-
property, right? That's PSE&G's
Right.
property?
Right, this is the utility lines, and we've faced that before, it's like, well, don't tell them that you're gonna, put solar on, because then they'll charge you to put the new, thingy
Mhm.
bob on the pole.
Mhm.
So, that's just kind of maddening, but I'll.
But also a real, a great, I mean, not great for you, but if you can tackle this and get it out in the open so that
Right.
it, you know, then it could help the whole rest of the island.
Right, and as, you know, I just pose these as challenges because this is where we are.
Yeah, yeah.
More information to come. And then just in the same, you know, realm of what the challenges are to proceeding with an agrivoltaic array. They're regulatory, I mean, currently the town doesn't permit them. Currently, the county farmland preservation law, ag development laws for preserved farmland wouldn't permit it. And those are widely agreed to be archaic, crafted before agrivoltaic co-production, where you're preserving active farmland and producing energy was really viable. So we're pursuing, you know, again, as I've said in the ETIP meetings, let's come up with a very compelling proposal so that these questions can be laid on the table. And some of it has to do with, you know, a slow evolution among the membership of the Suffolk County Farmland Committee, or, you know, reluctance based on past experiences with litigation to go into new territory, and
Right, well,
I think-
remember what happened with the
Pine Barrens.
Pine Barrens group, yeah, no, they almost kept farmers from putting barns on their,
Or fences.
or fences, deer fences, right.
So,
But that was adjudicated and it was settled. I mean, it was a problem, but it was a problem that was handled, you know,
it was resolved, but that's not to say that the county's gonna be, you know, jumping up and down to try again. So, so we're, you know, we're still pursuing it. And there's interest now from, you know, advocacy groups. We're looking at the state level, because their policies for preserved farmland are somewhat similar. And, you know, there are all these reports, NYSERDA, American Farmland Trust, Nature Conservancy recommending marginal land. But again, all of that was before you could really see that there are benefits to agriculture, actual crop production, soil moisture retention, all these things that are really quite advanced.
Yeah, well, the East End, we have the oldest land preservation, farmland preservation program in the country. Everybody
And it's a
else
little out-
followed
It's
us.
a little old fashioned.
And it's very old, yeah.
And it seems like the REL team at ETIP is enthusiastic about this, and I have started to look at that notice of funding opportunity that Becky highlighted yesterday, and its initial application is February for a dual use co-location solar and ag proposal. So I think we're just gonna keep trying to move this forward. I think one of the questions I have for you all is, does the town have an appetite to be a partner in a community solar project? And that's not something that we've really dug into. It would mean, you know, a significant commitment of space and resources by Sylvester Manor, but with a tremendous community benefit potential, but it has to be done as a partnership. So I think maybe we need to have all of us, including me, a better understanding of what community solar really is, how it works, how it would be run, who would be responsible for, you know, decision-making, et cetera, et cetera. The manor clearly has a lot of potential, even just to support what we're doing and planning to do with the electrification of the manor house. We can use a lot of power through remote net metering. But that power's in the grid, and if there's enough of it, there certainly is the potential for it to be allocated to help local community homeowners as well.
Just none of the proposals that you've received, or the two proposals, or even the third one, consider batteries locally.
We are asking for batteries, just for the, you know, the immediate short-term resilience needs. That those are a little harder to come by. Everybody seems to be like switching manufacturers, and there's a lot of fluidity in that side of it. But yes, we are going to get proposals. I'm expecting one this month and another one ASAP. But we're treating them as separate I mean, step by step. The main step is to get grid tied solar on the roof so that we can offset our uses at the farm stand and so on.
So Sarah, you're thinking about, what roofs are you thinking about? The farm stand, the pole barn?
Just the pole barn at this point.
Just the pole barn? Okay,
That's a big roof.
yeah, and it'll be nice to use that building for something.
Oh, it's tremendously occupied and utilized, Benj.
I would add that I think it was even at the last meeting that Meg and I had sort of brought up, you know, a working group, an ongoing standing, if you will, but a working group with PSE&G LI, okay, as part of or as an outcome of the ETIP program. That's sort of standalone, if you will. And that might be a forum for, you know, looking at this whole issue, relatively simple issue of, you know, are we going to need more transformer capacity? How long of a service drop are you going to need? You know, how much is it going to cost? And, you know, who's going to pay for it? Those discussions could take place inside that forum, and they might be more forthcoming about that and help us come to a decision. I'm just saying, I don't know for sure, but I would hope that's the kind of thing that could come out of a working group with PSE&G LI. I think,
It's worth a try.
yeah, I think you had wanted to have them come and talk to the town council or something like that, but also, you know, establish something like that, because we're talking about the Sylvester Manor project in the context of the ETIP program, right? All this is being evaluated as part of the ETIP program as well. So it sort of has
Well, the feasibility is, you know, cost is a major component.
of course,
And I think my hunch, you know, maybe it's not even worth saying a hunch, but I've also heard that they actually don't know, like the individual people aren't sure what the transformers, what the capacity is.
Yeah.
Like there's an absence of internal understanding of their own system. And, you know, fair enough, if a property owner wants to do a big array, should the cost of that be spread amongst all ratepayers, which is if PSEG absorbs it? So I think I sort of understand why they're saying you have to come in with a proposal before we can tell you what it's gonna cost and what we're gonna ask you to pay for. But at the same time, it makes this really hard for us to, you know, have a proposal. We are putting a project into our capital budget this year for Sylvester Manor, for the rooftop, and one way or another, it's gonna get done, but should we downsize it because of this uncertainty, or should we be generating as much clean energy as we possibly can on this rooftop? I mean, that's a big question, important question.
Well, some of that doesn't make much sense.
Question. Oh, sorry. Has the question been answered about the transmissibility?
Oh. I mean, how much the transformer can currently absorb. One installer says,
Yeah.
don't push it, and the other one says, don't worry about it. So that's where we're.
I've been told that, you know, Shelter Island is a red zone when it comes to transmitting power off the island to the grid, and, you know, making net metering kind of a difficult thing. But have we got a good answer to this question?
We're having trouble understanding you, Ben, because you're breaking up a little bit.
He's saying, oh, well, he's saying, I think, that there are some questions about whether we can do net metering on Shelter Island, because he didn't know or I think it's a question whether we can transmit electricity, you know, the electrons off the island, but they're coming on. So I don't know what kind of.
It's not a two-way road, though. I mean, the system has to be built for it to be a two-way road.
Right.
And
I think there are a lot of technical questions and I think Steve's idea of having a subgroup to work on this is really smart. The other thing is, I just want to say in support of the idea of community solar, that, being able to offset some of the rising costs of electricity, especially for low income members, households on Shelter Island, I think is a really important objective and one we should try to support. And then the question is, what's required in order to enable a significant build out of solar? And we can perhaps, PSEG is managing LIPA. I don't think LIPA itself has a net zero goal, but I don't know. But that is, all the utilities are supposed to be moving toward 100% renewable energy, or at least net zero by 2035, which is right around the corner. So I would hope that PSEG is incentivized to facilitate this sort of thing and not get in the way, or, create.
We are net metering now, that's like my roof at home is sending electricity to the grid. It may be that we can't net meter beyond what we're using on Shelter Island, but that would be a paradigm I don't think we're ever gonna hit, so.
Don, you had a question for Sarah before?
Some of that discussion about overcapacity for the existing transformer or whatever does not make sense to me, quite frankly.
Okay.
Because it's called an off switch. You can always cut down the power that is transmitted.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, can't you turn off certain cells?
Of
and
course.
the portion of it?
We do it every day with our light switch.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at least the first proposal, where they said it would be overcapacity.
Then you wind up wasting your production capacity, right? So you have to cut down the panels.
Yes, sure. Right, sure.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to install panels that can't feed into the grid.
Yeah, but it is not a technological problem. It's a design problem. You design overcapacity, but that can't be used. But you can always turn it off.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like PSE&G is gonna have to upgrade the infrastructure at some point anyway. We're outdated at best. They need to do some major infrastructure upgrades. So it'd be nice to push them.
Yeah,
Right?
yes.
I agree.
Yeah. Even if it's just to clear up this ambiguity about who pays for the upgrades of their equipment. I think that's something that we all care about. And that should, even if it's just pushing to the point where it is made clear whose responsibility that is.
And it may be that they haven't even asked themselves, where else could we get the money for this? Between the state and the federal funds for, these improvements, maybe it doesn't have to be either PSCG or the ratepayer.
They probably haven't even looked at it. If there's no demand, then there's no drive for them to upgrade. If they're not having major problems.
Right,
If this is
absolutely.
then why would you want to spend money on it?
That's the philosophy behind doing an ambitious proposal at Sylvester Manor, is to push all of the partners, regulatory, technology, et cetera, to ask the questions of how can we just move the ball down the field, whether it's at the Manor or somebody else, somewhere else. I think it's a good device to get all of these questions on the table, out in the open,
Yes.
and create potential other avenues, pathways for other properties, other institutions. So, as much as you guys want to use and push that, I think Sylvester Manor is game.
Well, again, if you ask for the sort of a town commitment, if there's some way we could have a meeting or something.
I think we all need to understand it better. What would it mean? Who would be administering what aspects? What would be the benefits? And what are the town code or comp plan issues that need to be addressed to allow it, all that sort of
And
stuff?
even just the infrastructure issues that would have to be addressed.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the PSE&G / LIPA is looking at load growth implications. Right now, the summer peak here, or more generally on the east end, but certainly even here, is 2 to 3 times the winter peak. And if we're looking at growing, historic load growth is 2.5%, but they're talking about that being bumped up to 3 to potentially even 4%. But, they look at those numbers and they're not oblivious to it. So there again, working with them perhaps on an ongoing basis, getting some idea of where they're looking to reinforce here on the island. I think they're looking at that. Obviously, they don't want to spend money that they don't have to spend. These are very expensive capital improvements that have to go to all ratepayers. Okay, and I've already talked about how these very high summer peak demands, the cost of that is borne by all ratepayers and disproportionately by low-income ratepayers. Okay, because they pay these fixed costs as well. So let's just keep that in mind. But PSE&G absolutely is looking ahead. I don't know, who their names are, but they have a department that's looking at that. And, we could be talking to them as well, or to their representatives.
Christina
Could I
has
just-
her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Christina.
thank you. Could I just say, I think it would also be useful to talk to people at NYSERDA to find out what the conversation, what the support is potentially for grid upgrades. It's a big conversation across the country, but in New York State, there obviously we have a lot of policy support for renewable energy, and this is, the grid upgrades are absolutely part of it. So anyway, I think, do we have a contact at NYSERDA? I mean, I have one or two. If that's useful, I can reach out and try to find the right part of the agency to go to with questions around this if we get into it.
Okay. We have a little time left, and we want to hear from Ben. We have a guest. I'm just going to quickly touch on Climate Smart Community. I did hear back from John. He'd be interested in talking about what we talked about last time, is that we really haven't tackled any of the action items, and John likes projects. And so when John is free, maybe next week, I'm going to just talk to him, explain what the program is. I'll send him to the website first, and then we'll take that up at the next meeting. Ben, tell us about your trip.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I mean, look, the biggest benefit of me going there was the fact that, I'm new to the town board, I'm new to this committee, I don't know any of the players, and most of them were there. So, the first day I sat next to Brian all day, and we had lunch together, and I got to know the people who are working on our project, like personally. So that was super beneficial to me, and hopefully to the committee. It was really interesting. I mean, what was her name? Like I said, I can't look at my stuff. And they did not encourage us to take a lot of notes. They wanted us to be present and participating in the conversation. There were constant and multiple breakout groups. But the woman who's in charge of the Department of Energy, the sort of the energy resilience and
In his car,
We lost you, Ben.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
in his car.
Maybe we should get the report at a different time.
Okay, I think we've lost you, Ben.
So it would be good to have the name, we should let him do it when he has access to his notes and.
Yes. Ben, if you can hear me.
Yep.
Oh, there you are.
Okay.
We keep losing you.
no problem. We'll do it the next meeting.
let's do it the next meeting with you in the room if possible.
Okay.
Or at least with access to your notes.
No problem.
Okay. We have,
Did you get the picture? Did you get the pictures I sent around last night?
Yeah,
Yes.
very nice.
yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
the most important picture was the ground-mounted solar for the
Yeah.
agrivoltaics, because it actually gave you a real idea of what it looks like. And I had the person stand next to it so you can see how tall it is. That was helpful. I found it helpful.
I didn't think I got that.
Yeah, I don't
Well-
remember that one.
I think it's the one,
Was
it's the
it-
solar panels on the posts.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the group of photos. Yeah.
Did you
no,
get the photos that he sent? We'll forward them.
I'll forward it to you.
The auroras.
And maybe, Ben, you could just either just have little brief captions underneath, or you want to wait and just do like a little PowerPoint the next.
Oh, okay, it's number 3916.
Gives you a real idea of what the agrivoltaics look like and how big they are.
They don't look that big.
No, but I mean, they're tall, but clearly sheep and cattle can graze underneath, and you can grow things underneath them. And
It's like 4 times as big as the fire department's message board.
It was just an article, which actually I sent to Sarah, what was that, 2 weeks ago, Sarah? About a farm, I forget where. And you kind of said, yes, this is it. But it was just, I'll see if I can find it again, but it was an interesting article about a farmer who actually has done all this. And actually, I also read about another place, I think in the Midwest, where they're doing meadows underneath agrivoltaic. Anyway, I'll look for the stuff and send it to all of you. Elise, do you have any questions for us?
I do not. I was just checking in to see what's going on.
Okay.
I just, I was actually curious real quick. I wanted to ask Sarah, is the windmill being utilized for any type of energy?
At least we actually had a batch of senior engineering women students from Worcester Polytechnic do a project to analyze whether it made
What's the?
any sense to try to generate electricity from that grain mill. And the answer was no.
But it might make sense to generate some grain from that grain meal.
But we do have Ag and Markets approval to use it for grinding grain for human consumption. There's another round of restoration that has to happen. So the mill is restored, but the works need some fine tuning. And even then, it'll be a question of now that the trees have grown up and, how effective that windmill is gonna turn. But we do expect to be making flour and meal there. It's not at the top of the fundraising list at the moment, but it will rise again.
When the apocalypse comes, we'll be able to eat.
And certainly their recommendation was that modern turbines would make a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thought that everything is being utilized at the manor. And my thought is, and I've got it in the back of my head, that I really would like to look into residential wind turbine. Nothing big, nothing crazy, but I'm not really sure what their restrictions might be on the island. So that's on my list of things to do in the future.
Oh,
I'd love to help
interesting.
you.
It's the Wild West, at least. Put it up now before they pass a law against it.
Well, you know what my concern is, because we're so close to all of that preserve.
Just kidding.
behind us. I don't want
That
to.
was a joke, Coco.
Yes,
No,
that was
I know,
that was a joke, everybody.
I know. But I'm
It's not
concerned
in the
about,
minutes, yes. I didn't mean that.
I just,
Have a
I
talk
want to make
outside.
sure that we
Sorry.
don't harm anybody but anyway, but there's a lot of technology developing with the wind turbines, and I was just kind of looking into it. I mean, along with solar, but it's all out there for us to take a look at. So that's wonderful that you guys are looking into it. So thank you.
Well, Lisa, I'd love to talk to you about it. I've been looking into it as well.
Yeah.
the technology is still very, very young, and no one's really focusing on it. If they're not large commercial turbines, no one's really doing a lot of work around there.
Well, my thought was also that now that we've got all these, a large mass of preserves now happening, that is there a potential for utilizing some of that land for some of this technology? So, I mean, it's, again, it's
Like
up for
vineyard.
discussion.
That's a very tricky question.
I understand.
Because many of those preserves have very specific, people, when we purchase them, they have very specific restrictions, and
Yep.
it's so, and you can't sort of go after the fact and decide what you want to do with them.
Yep, I
No,
understand.
we should be thinking about it before the fact now.
No, you can purchase something, but you just need to be very clear about what you're doing with that piece of property.
Sure, absolutely. So, but thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up?
The Monday, October 21st is the ETIP Northeast Regional Call at 2:30. That's
It's
what I have
2:30.
in my
It's
calendar.
2:30?
And it's on Monday, not Tuesday.
So,
I have
Yeah.
Monday, the 21st at 2:30 is the call. Now that's in the middle of a WAC meeting, so I will not be able to
Okay.
be on that call.
Okay. I will send out a reminder.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
And maybe it changed dates.
I don't know. I thought I populated it from the
That's what's in my email.
That's okay.
yeah,
I will check. I will check.
because I
and
have
just
the
send
Zoom
it.
link in it.
I will check.
That's what, I have it on the 21st at that time on my calendar,
Wait, it's on the 21st, but do you have it at 2 or 2:30?
2:30.
Okay,
Do?
okay.
Okay.
I will just check and send it out to everybody so we're all clear.
And then the date changes for the ETIP meetings. The November 13th is staying the same. And then we're gonna do November 20th, which is the week after at 4 o'clock.
Again, Meg, I'm just gonna
We'll put in an email.
send it an email.
Makes
Right.
sense.
Get her to come.
Just Steve, I'll send out an email so everybody will be very clear.
Good.
Just wanted to give you one nice bit of news, food waste diversion at Sylvester Manor, as of the end of last month, I think, had more than doubled its intake over the prior year, over 17,000 pounds of food waste.
It's 17,000 pounds per, what's the time?
Up to that
That's
time
the
of
amount
this year.
the year.
And it's year round now, so it's just gonna keep going.
So
And
you're now
so
it's-
multiple truckloads of beef leaves and wood chips.
So you're now at 17,000, or
I'm sorry,
you're now at 17,000?
yeah,
Yeah, currently.
as of last month,
So you're ahead of last year.
more than double last
More
year.
than double. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, I just want to add that, I had bought that food cycler about 4 months ago. And I've been using it regularly, and it's the most amazing device, okay? And in 4 months, I still have not filled a 5-gallon bucket.
Wow,
I'm waiting to fill the bucket before I bring it to you.
great,
But in 4 months, that's how much it has reduced. And I'm just wondering, projecting what that might mean for the whole island if there was a widespread adoption of this technology. How much, food waste we're trucking off the island, we're paying to truck off the island. I don't know, because that's not something I'm familiar with. But the implications could be huge. I'm telling you, I have not filled a 5-gallon bucket in 4 months from my house.
yeah, I noticed that the comp plan goals talk about composting as a goal. And I think maybe we could be a little more congratulatory about what the town has already accomplished by partnering with the manor and using trying these new technologies.
Mhm.
Because a lot has already been
been achieved.
Mhm.
I still have the big food cycler at home, which I'm not using because I'm going to Sylvester Manor, but maybe there's a way, I know the library has one, but maybe there's a way with the town, we can advertise that we have this and that people can sample it.
Yeah.
And I can get it out of the house, out of the hallway.
Yeah, that's a good idea. People try it.
Okay. Maybe we could do
Yeah.
a media
Yep.
post.
And notify me in a Facebook post.
Yeah,
If you haven't signed up for Notify Me, please do. It's pretty awesome.
and this is what you'll get.
You'll get alerts for all kinds of things. You'll get a
I know, I really-
notification
I
that they're
have-
starting the Congdon bulkhead repair. They'll let you know when the meetings are, what your agendas are gonna be. They'll email it all or text it to you. It's very handy. It's on the website. Go to the bottom of the page, sign up for Notify Me. You get to choose what you wanna get too. So it's not like no matter what, you get everything. You can pick and choose what you want.
I know, I realize I haven't signed up.
Come on, I'm trying to get people to sign
And I was
up.
pushing
It's a
for
free
this.
tool. I know, you were one of the nudges, so you've gotta sign up.
I know,
It's called Notify Me.
Notify
it's just because I know everything, so. I don't-
You don't know what you're missing though. You
No, it's
don't.
true. No.
You could be missing a whole bunch of stuff.
I know, no.
Website sign up, is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's on the bottom of the page, I think it says Notify Me, and you create an account and then you can sign up for whatever
I'm already getting it.
hits your fancy. It also has all the programs through the senior center and the rec department, so you can kind of pick and choose what you want. If you have specific committees you like to follow, you can get their agendas. Highly recommend it.
No, this is Lynn Arthur is the one who told me about this, Steve. They use it there all the time for lots of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, if you go down to the bottom, Notify Me, and then you can create an account.
Okay.
It doesn't come up on the phone version.
Uh,
But maybe
yeah,
that's, it's
I
already
do it
signed
at
up.
home.
You might have already signed up, but it's at the very bottom of the page in a big blue box, just click it and you can start from there. You go to the
Alright.
homepage.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna make a motion to end the meeting.
A second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, good to see you. Christine, are you back in Washington now?
Yes, we are. So I'll be back up in the spring. But good to see everyone virtually.
Okay.
See you.